week from y'all being so open and honest. So I really appreciate it beforehand.
Oh no, it's wonderful that you have a show like this. It really is. It's a blessing. And I apologize for my tardiness. I was taking care of my son real quick and getting little man situated.
Oh, we had to get in the spirit anyway. It's okay. You did perfect time, and I was over there, get my Kurt Franklin on. But definitely, um, appreciate that. Appreciate that, Pikachu. Make sure y'all favorite everybody in here. Make sure y'all favorite my guest, Guardian. This is Kicking It with Jesus every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. What? Okay, so are you telling a specific situation, or are you going from the beginning up?
You know what? I will share my experience, strength, and hope. That's something that my program teaches me, and I'll begin now if that's okay with you.
Okay, yeah. Try to start from the beginning of as possible from the story. Thank you.
Oh yeah. I mean, all right, so I'm Guardian. I get my name actually from an anime that I watched as a child. You'll see little trinkets here of them, the pretty guardians. And one thing that resonated with me with this anime was we were average, ordinary teenage girls who had their flaws and all. But when it came down to it, they would suit up and show up for not only one another, but for their community, for like their world. Like, you know how anime, you got to save the world. So sometimes it feels like that growing up in a situation where we weren't very well off. My parents, they did the best they could with what they had. So me growing up, I felt like there was the weight of the world on my shoulder. And to watch this anime and to feel like, wow, these girls cry, this one overeats, this one has terrible luck with love, but they still have each other, was something that I could take with me. So even into adulthood, I will rock the name Guardian. It's on the face, it's a commitment.
So when did you get the Guardian tattoo? Was that recently, or was that something that happened when you was
That was January of 2021.
okay? Okay. So
And
all
around
lessons
that
came together.
time, it really does. It comes all together. And I was struggling a lot at the time. I was in a very toxic relationship. I was in two toxic relationships. Don't worry, they knew about each other. But it still wasn't a good
Okay.
situation.
We definitely gonna get to that at the end because we had a little something about that 2 weeks ago, so it's gonna tie in. Yes, the episodes tie in, y'all. Okay, so we're gonna go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back.
And at the time, so in 2019, my father had passed. I was already struggling with a drinking problem, and that kind of skyrocketed that. I was a daddy's girl, full and full. Talk to him 3 times a day, just what are you eating? What are you this? And then I didn't have that. It just cancer
Before
had took my father.
before I guess with the drinking was that something that would you say that was that trying to mask anything, or was it just what I mean, like, what you drinking already?
It comes like when you think about drinking alcohol, it's such a socially acceptable event. It's such a thing that you become 21 and it's like your rite of passage. It's like we drink, we this, and then I come from the hood. And it's thank you very much. And we come from a situation where drinking was the norm. Like I started around 15 and it was like, let's drink before this event because it's the cool thing to do. And then it's like, oh, you had a bad day, let's drink. Oh, you had a great day, let's drink. So not only does it become an issue for so many people around the world, it's strongly embedded into our social aspects that it's hard to tell when someone has a problem or not sometimes. Because when you think of someone with a drinking problem, you're thinking about the dude down the street in the alleyway slumping. You don't think about the high functioning mother that I was, the mother making sure her kids still get into school, has food on the table, thinking, you don't think I have a drinking problem. But at the end of the day, the drinking was a symptom to the reality of my life that I could not handle, or better yet, would not handle.
Definitely. I know you got to your dad, so you and your dad was real close, I'm guessing.
Yes, we went through a lot growing up, but I will say I am my father's child. I will say that much. They just as so we're both Leos, so there was a lot of aggressive tension sometimes because we're both stern and firm in our personalities. But honestly, once I got pregnant with my son, that was in 2014. it melted a lot of his masculinity in a sense, because now like his baby girl is about to have a child, and he was there for me for all of that, and he loves my son. And I still say loves because even in heaven I know he'd be visiting my baby boy. I know this. So he's still around. And it was a big hit when the cancer came, and it was pancreatic cancer. They call that the silent killer, because there's no, it's gonna take you. You just don't know when.
There's no
And
saying.
he was very much a fighter, and that
When did
really.
at what age
Uh-huh.
was your son when you started getting any symptoms or any, you know what I mean? Like, what was the first moment that you actually knew
He was
something was
around
going
3 years old. My son was around 3, and my father would complain about stomach pains, things, and we were like, "You should get that checked, get it checked." And him being very like, I would say, the toxic masculinity, and he's very traditionally Puerto Rican. So no, I'm fine. I'll work through this. And lo and behold, once they found it, it was stage 3. So they're really, it's a sad to say, but the reality of it is you're done. Like, enjoy what you have.
so he went from saying he had the pain and fighting, going to the doctor, and then
Hmm.
finally y'all actually went to the doctor together, or did he go by himself? Do you remember
He
the?
went by himself. He was very much an independent, stubborn man. I do believe my stepmother was probably in the car waiting for him, but he was very much, nope, don't have to come with me. I got this. But towards the end of it, we did see his emotion. I mean, it's crazy when you know your time is coming. And this is why I say live each day. It doesn't have to be a crazy fullest. Live it to your most honorable, true, authentic self. Because then when your time comes, you don't have to lay there saying, what if? What if? And I do feel that there were a lot of things that he wished he could have done better. And that's okay, because to me, he was a great father. He may have
So
had
what?
his moments with my mother and my stepmother, but for me, he was a wonderful person to the best of his ability that he knew how to be.
So I want to dive into when that, because it's the big moments when you find out certain things. You know, when he actually found out and he had to tell you about it. How did that conversation go?
He was very nonchalant about it, again, protecting his children just very well. And he would sometimes make jokes about the side effects of the medications, things like that. But it's just, we could tell he was masking his fear. But through the whole thing, he was very, very strong about it for us. Even to the time of his passing, he was fighting letting go. And I remember just saying to him, Dad, we're going to go downstairs and get something to eat. I gave him a kiss on the forehead. We were in the hospital cafeteria, it was me and my siblings,
Well, you
and we
get
got
to.
the
I was, well, I want to lead up to that part because I think you had to, that's the you about to say the part.
yeah.
Yeah. So I want to lead up to that just a little bit, just a little bit. So so now we find out that he has it. He has the son that he really loves. I have this great relationship built. Welcome everybody. This is Kicking It with Jesus. Appreciate y'all for being here. Thank you so much. We have Guardian with us, our great guest. Make sure you favor her, please. Okay, so we find out the stage 3 situation. He tells you about, he's nonchalant about the medicine. Does his actions change at all towards you? Is it more, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure how far the stage 3 from the time the hospital occurred, but does his actions,
Well,
does his
when it came to his actions and his mannerisms, I felt he was less firm with me. And again, I had a drinking problem. Like, the family just took it as she's a heavy drinker, because like as Hispanics, like there's always like that one titi or tío, and I was that titi. And he was a lot less verbal about the concerns. I will say that much. He was more tender, more sentimental, and it just, like, even holidays meant more to him.
mm,
Even though he was very much like into the holidays, it meant more. He would, and I didn't realize it at the time. There were times that he's like, oh, do you need me to do something? Like, I'll come, because I lived a little bit far away from him, about an hour out. And he would take the drive to come to my house. And it really was just, he wanted to see us. He wanted to see me and my son. And sometimes I wish he would have just said, I just want to see you, instead of, what do you need me to do? What do you want? Like, da da da. And just say, I want to see you. But I'm realizing, and now that was his way of doing that.
Mm, okay, so I like that. I like to bring out that moment because that brings a big point that I like, to really put in perspective the way that we act when we know that we're about to, pass or pretty much sure that we're about to pass. Like you were saying, that's the way that we should act, period, towards people. You know what I mean? Be more caring and loving and give people time and you know what I mean that we care about and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I did, I did want to hear that. So what moment did he have to actually go to the hospital? Was it something that happened at the house or did he just
It really is just the cancer progressed. He wasn't really able to care for himself. Like his physical frame was diminished. He wasn't, you could see it in the face. He wasn't like very healthy and he had been in and out of the hospital for quite some time. I remember there was a moment, Easter Sunday, he was in the hospital and we brought Easter eggs, and that was my son's first Easter egg hunt in one of the little like family rooms that they had there. He doesn't remember it, but we do. And he was just in and out, and then finally we knew, and he knew. That's the thing though, he always knew when it was going to happen. And it was it was I don't want to say it was fast, but he had prolonged it because of how much of a fighter he was. That spirit in him is very strong.
yeah, definitely. That had to be a tough moment, being in, actually dealing with the death part. Did that and that's what caused your drinking to actually take that next step and not have, not having that, you know.
It really escalated it for the simple fact that when I didn't have a healthy relationship with myself, and I didn't understand how to have healthy relationships amongst others, and I had this one great relationship with my father, and all of a sudden it's gone. And that's one thing I struggle with is relationships, whether it be platonic, romantic, friends, family, whatever it is. And because I couldn't sit with self in that moment, and I didn't have this outlet of my, my father, my pretty much best friend, because I would tell him a lot of things, I felt very much alone. And when the family grieved, it was kind of like I was next in line to take on like being the support, that shoulder to cry on. I was the one. It's Nikki's oh sorry, Guardian's the strong one. She's the one who can do this, and I didn't have anyone else to grieve with. So I made a trauma bond with a young gentleman, and that also progressed my drinking, because when you become bonded with someone through trauma who happens to be lost themselves, you're holding each other hostage at this point, because you're not allowing either one of you to heal or to even deal with your demons. You're using each other. Again, love can be a substance if not used properly.
I can definitely agree with that. Yeah, it's like y'all bonding over the wrong situations. Yeah, yeah.
Yep, and he definitely had his demons going on, and it was kind of like, we can help each other, we will save each other. We need to save ourselves before anything else. I cannot pour from an empty cup, and I was here giving you every droplet that I had, and just I couldn't even feed myself anything. I starved my soul, and I was feeding my ego. That was my downfall there, and that's when the alcohol could come into play.
Mm. Did the alcohol affect any of your other relationships when you started
Oh,
drinking?
very much so. As much as I was a present mother, I will admit I wasn't as good as a mother as I am today. I
Mm.
was not as attentive. I was not, everything that I was before was a shell of the person that I am today. And now my son knows that mommy's gonna be there. Mommy's accountable. I can actually hold a job and not like go crazy over little things. And
What was
it's
something? What was an example of something that happened at a job when you was drinking that that shows the drinking problem?
Well, for instance, I was working at a local 99, and I remember I had drank the night before, and it was an afternoon shift, and I still was out of wits. Like I was still out of character. I wasn't drunk, but the alcohol was still in my system.
Mhm.
So I wasn't functioning properly as a hostess. I thought I was. Like I thought I was just like, yeah, I'm doing great. And they're like, you're not. And I could feel like a little bit of the shakes. and stuff. And it took a very long time for me to understand that, yes, I have a drinking problem. I don't, at the time I was an alcoholic. I don't believe I am one now, because alcoholic is such an active term, and I've been inactive for over a year now. And I just remember I couldn't even like greet guests properly. I couldn't, even the way that I'm speaking with you right now, it just wasn't authentic. It was very much concerning. Like if you would to speak to me like, that girl's sick, like what's going on with her? And I couldn't keep that job. It's like they had called me out on it, and I couldn't admit that I have a problem, so I kind of just left.
Mm. Okay, that's what's up. So when you what was the pinnacle that you would say that made you say, okay, I need to do something about the drinking. This is, you know what I mean, that big, I guess a big moment that made you say, all right, enough is enough. You
Oh,
know.
this one's a doozy. So when I was in the midst of my alcohol and my son's father, we were still living together. It wasn't a great relationship, and we ended up getting evicted from our home March 2021. Yep, March of 2021. And we were staying with people here and there, trying to get into a family shelter. Some things that my drinking progressed. It definitely progressed. And I still had this facade, this idea that I'm still getting it done. Like I'm still getting us into a shelter. Girl, you're getting into a shelter because you've lost everything. And it wasn't just my drinking either. He had a lot to contribute to it too, but I will take accountability for myself because I am not him. I can only say what I did wrong. And at one point, so when you get into a shelter, child services, they do have to assess your need to go into a shelter. And they did say you need help. And you either get help or you don't, you're not with your family. And that was the point where, and I'm being completely honest, I'm not very proud of this past. That was the point where they told me I had to stay at another place for the night, and I went to a hotel room. I wasn't with my family at that, my son and his father at the time, because they said I needed help. And I went to another place. I got drunk. And I remember that morning they said, you got to go to detox. And so I had 2 bottles of alcohol in my backpack on that phone call. And I said, all right. I found the nearest trash bin. I was walking on a highway. Like, it's so crazy to think about. This was my life at this point. I stood out at a hotel. Instead of doing the right thing, I got drunk. I'm on like, just walking on this phone call. They're like, you can't go back. You have to go to detox. Hang up that call. I see a trash barrel. I physically gave up alcohol. I will always think of that moment where I took those bottles out of that backpack, threw them in the dumpster, and I have not touched a drink ever since. And that was in April of 2021. I went and I got help. And while I was in detox, I realized I'm in an abusive relationship. And because of my drinking, I didn't acknowledge that I was being abused physically, emotionally, and mentally. And so I decided my son is okay. I'm going to keep going through these treatment facilities. So Massachusetts has wonderful treatment facilities for anyone who's struggling. Just pick up that phone and ask for help. They will help you. And I went from program to program. I lived in halfway house with all crazy women. I've experienced what like actual drug addict. I've never been around drugs like that. So to actually see drug addicts struggling and actually trying to get help, that really changed my mind of what I thought about drug addicts. And I could finally say today, like through programs, being homeless, living in programs, getting my son back, full custody, like he's with me. And now we live with family.
Oh, did
And
the,
it's,
also
mhm.
you had to actually fight to get the custody back after you
I did not, honestly, because I kept doing the next right thing for myself and for myself to get better. It Those things were acknowledged because I was honest. The way that I'm brutally honest right here, because I'm not proud that I had all this stuff going on. I'm not proud that I was drunk around my kid, but because I'm able to do these things, there is something being seen in me that says, yes, she deserves this life. She deserves to be the caretaker of this child because she's taken accountability for everything she's done wrong and changed it. That's step one right there. You got to say, you know what? I messed up. Step two, what am I going to do about it? And step three, you got to actually do it.
man, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you,
Thank
definitely. Yeah, being able to it always takes that one big action that makes stuff change. It's like that action of throwing all them bottles away at the same time.
you.
Yeah, that was something that clicked your mind
And
into.
it's crazy too, because I used to live stream. I had a fairly popular following going on, and I would drink on my live stream. I had the lights going, I had the music, I was partying. It was a party. It was a party. But when that camera went off, you didn't see the empty bottles on the floor, the mess in my apartment, the chaos that was my life. I was very good about putting on a show, my friend.
Mhm.
But now I don't have to put on that show because what I practice is called attraction rather than promotion. I will not promote myself. I will not promote my lifestyle. I will just be my authentic self. And if you like that, come rock with me. If not, blessed be. I'll see you in the next life then.
Definitely. I love it. I love it. I really appreciate you. I mean, I picked up a lot from this interview. I really appreciate you doing the show. Uh,
Yeah, wonderful. I jumped at the chance. I said, oh yeah. I told my son, I was like, I got a little something to do. You behave, we'll go get some McDonald's, honey.
ain't nothing like some good bribery with the kids, is it? I be doing
Oh
the
my
same thing.
goodness. Like that I will admit. I'm like, there's always a little something. Like, we'll go. We'll go to McDonald's.
Definitely. Oh man, y'all get that. What's my favorite thing? They got that Big Mac or something. I Wendy's with my kids, but I do a little. They like McDonald's too.
Yeah, it's the toys. It depends what toy. And now they have the Lightyear toy. So he's like, I gotta get the Lightyear collection. So my son is also autistic. So when it comes to certain things that he collects and he gets into, I do honor that. I do learn about his interests. And that's another thing. I mean, I am so grateful to be sober today, to witness my son's triumphs, because these little things, like he's 7 and he's just fully potty trained now. And those are things people are like, well, why wasn't he? You know what? It was on his time and he's doing it. And I'm so proud. The other at April vacation, I took him, we live in the Boston area. So I took him to Boston Commons, and this was the first time he got on a merry-go-round and he didn't need my help. And at first you could see it, I was like, you got this, dude, you could do this. And he was so happy. And these, when it comes to being a parent of a special needs child, these are the things we live for. Those authentic smiles of you got this. And even those nights where he's just scared and doesn't know why, I'm sober today to be there and console him. I'm not hungover and upset that mommy can't sleep or anything. I'm there. I get up in the morning and I'm there for him. And to honestly see the change within myself as a parent, I live a life second to none.
Oh man, y'all make sure y'all favorite this queen. Yeah, we just had a great interview, y'all. Kicking it with Jesus every Sunday, 11 p.m. Eastern. Y'all come get this inspiration. Yeah, definitely, man. A lot of people deal with different addictions, so it was so nice for you to just share. I guess last before you leave, what's some strategies that you use to keep yourself from going back to drinking?
One thing that I do have photos and videos of myself from over a year ago. And I do compare the physical change, because there's a physical change when you, and it's not just sobriety, it's recovery. That's what I practice, because you can abstain from a drink or a drug, but what are you doing to feed that soul so you don't feed it with the wrong things anymore? So I do like to remind myself where I was before. One big thing is reach out, pick up the phone. There are Zoom meetings online 24 hours a day where they're either AA, NA, and even here on the streams, there are some people who know what you're going through and are willing to chat with you. Reach out to people. And if someone is nasty to you, tell them, God, change me and bless them. Because at the end of the day, if someone's nasty to you and it bothers you, there's something you got to work on in here, and pray for them because they haven't found it yet. Whatever they're looking for, they haven't found it yet. And so if anyone is ever nasty to you, just look at them and say, I will pray for you because I want you too to be just as happy as I am today, honestly. So reach out, I do look back to remind myself, like, give yourself the credit of the work you do, even if you have an hour, a day, a moment. Give yourself that moment to say, you know what, I made it. I made it 5 minutes. I made it 10 minutes. I made it here. Give yourself the a credibility of what you've done.
Definitely. I love it. Repo, how you doing, brother? Thank you so much, Guardian. Is there any final words you'd like to tell everybody before you leave, and what time you stream or anything you got going?
I'm slowly getting back into the streaming part of it after, like, you know, I have my own little setup, but this is just for me. Again, this is my authentic self, my desk, my room. This is my piece. But yes, I stream here and there. So be sure to follow me, favorite me. And we'll see what comes out of all of this, because honestly, I don't plan for tomorrow. I only plan for today, because that's all I have.
Definitely, definitely. Well, you got my favorite. I can't wait for you. Yeah, definitely. Me too. All right. Thank you so much. Hey, make sure you fave me as well, Guardian. I'll be streaming on here. Check you
Oh,
out.
yes, yes. I definitely did. I had to find you, do some internet snooping. It wasn't that hard. It wasn't that hard.
Thank you so much, Guardian. I really enjoyed this moment with you.
Yes, thank you so much. So now I'm gonna head on out and take my son to McDonald's, because he did not bother us right now. So he
He
deserves
deserves
it.
it. That's what it
He
is.
deserves
Shout out to
it.
you and the sun for real. I'm gonna check you out whenever you stream. I will come through.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Headed on out.
All right. Give her love she deserves. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Guardian. Lena Love, how you doing, Queen? Yeah, that was a great one. Dealing with addiction can always be a hard situation. And her being able to give us the strategies and giving us the build up and how certain things made her turn to it. I appreciate the strategies because we all go through different things. And having those strategies can keep us from having to maybe not deal with it the same way, maybe be able to come out of it a little earlier. So we really appreciate that. Guardian, y'all make sure y'all fave her. Cookie, what's up with you? Repo, what's popping, y'all? What's popping, everybody? It's key for sure, Lena Love. How are you feeling?